All right, guys, I'm gonna go over some tricks for knee pain that I've learned, maybe some prehab things to keep in mind while you're doing your lifts, and just give you a general approach to addressing knee pain, and maybe you can think about these kind of things when dealing with other joint pain, and it's just common protocol. The first thing that you want to do when addressing any joint pain is typically just to kind of massage around into the area. Now with your knee, there are a lot of things you can do. You can honestly take your hand and press in all around the backside, up under the calf, all around in your kneecap area too, and try and break up that tissue. I've seen a lot of people put pressure and then move their leg. There are a lot of tools. If you look up voodoo floss bands, you can wrap these around your leg and you get tension around the top and bottom of your knee, and then go through a range of movement, and it tries to maybe pull tissue across that pressure, or helps massage and loosen up the tissue and allows you to track in a better position. Another common one is taking a ball behind the back side of your kneecap and shoving it down on in there and just sitting back and moving around. It gives you an idea. You could use a rolling pin. Here's one right here. Go ahead, and honestly, if you're doing this at home, you can use a lacrosse ball. You could use a literal rolling pin instead of this. You can use any object. A lot of times I've taken things, if I have like a sharp pain, like one specific spot, I'll take the back of kind of like a fatter butter knife, and I'll put a rag over top of it and dig in. That gives you a starting point. You break up the tissue first, and then you can go through a series of stretching. One stretch I'm going to go over doesn't necessarily address, the knee joint specifically, but the thing about the knee is, and this might help, you want to get your muscles relaxed and just very, very, very relaxed. A lot of people carry a lot of tension in their hamstrings. It's something when you're going through stretches, you want to breathe, you want to really get deep into the tissue, and you want to make it a mental challenge to relax all of your body. The breathing really helps. A big full inhale, long slow exhale. Sometimes people do multiple exhales. It doesn't matter. Either way, it's better to be intense while you're getting massaged. You really need to relax for sure, first and foremost. And you also need to understand a lot of knee pain comes from not being aligned and not having like a lack of proper alignment. For me, I used to be extremely overweight. What that did was, and it used to be worse, you might be able to see, my knees naturally knock in. Now I fight that hard when I squat, and I'm used to driving out, and I don't get a lot of knee pain. But that doesn't mean I never get it. I also have ankle issues. My ankles used to pronate a big time. Flat-footed, turn inward. That's gonna cause pressure on the knee. Every time you drive weight down, you want it to be centered so the weight transfers straight through. If I drive down with an inward knee, it's gonna put pressure this way. There's force this way, and there's a bend. So like if I had a tree trunk, I use this analogy a lot. If I had a straight up and down tree trunk and put weight on the top, it would be much more stable than if I took a tree trunk that had an angle in it and I put something up there, it would snap. And you need to really think about that with your joints. We could spend all day going over each joint specifically. The knee, when you're practicing body weight squats, this is a great one. For instance, a lot of people have an issue coming inward and also just breaking in the knees and not in the hips. But let's get back to the stretch that I want to show you. This is actually a split squat stretch, and you can actually do this also up against the wall, so your foot is higher up. But if you're a beginner, you can keep your knee pretty far away. You want to keep glutes on, abs on, rib cage low, and just come back. And that gives you a hell of a quad stretch, and you're gonna get your hip flexors stretched really, really good there too. This is also a good movement to do. A split squat, a Bulgarian split squat. If you do not have pain in a single-legged movement, whether it's a step up, a reverse lunge is just stepping back and coming up. I like to do that where I stand up on a platform or a few mats to get some extra range. So if my lead foot was higher, it allows my glute and hip to pull me up. It's another thing to consider is the depth of a movement. So like this is a really deep position, my hip pulls me out. If I'm lunging forward and stop here, my knee is below my hip. My hips need to get below my knee in order for my hips to pull me out of the bottom. Weight travels down to the hips, stays in the hips if the knees are up here. If the knees are here and I only do like a quarter squat, my knees are gonna be the bigger motivator more times than not. You see that a lot, guys who just do that there. It's not overly dangerous to do that, but it definitely is not good if you have knee problems. And it's just not a mechanically sound movement to do in general, unless you're getting really good range, dropping down. That kind of might remind you of what a front squat, like that upright torso position. That's a really good one. That opens up a lot of different things. And a single-legged movement, like a split squat stretch even, does a great job of fixing imbalances. Another good stretch that you can do, I mean, honestly, think about it like this. I don't address knee pain with a lot of knee-specific stretches. I stretch and massage and roll the hell out of my calves. I get my ankles really stretched. I'll take my ankle against something and I'll just kind of play around in here. I can bend in the knee and scoop around. So when my leg is straight, that's giving me a good calf stretch. Maybe this video isn't the best place to find your idea for every stretch, but a lot of times, hip problems. Can you internally rotate? A really good thing to do, and this is gonna show you something that I'm not amazing at. This, I know it sounds weird, it actually is some sort of swastika named yoga pose. That's I guess what the Indian name for it is, or wherever it originated. But what you have here, two 90-degree angles. A lot of people can sit up comfortably here. I have trouble internally rotating my hips. It's something I'm working on, and I've spent a handful of years working on, and I'm ever improving. But this test right here, you can turn in towards your knee, you can square up, some people can drop forward, you can stay forward and drop here, you can turn away. This is a good place to play around for several minutes. That's the other thing here, several minutes. It takes a couple minutes of really focusing on relaxing. And you can even take your hand and massage up in here. If you find that you have a lack of symmetry somewhere in your hip, or your ankles, or your calves, or some sort of issue, if you look down when you're squatting and one toe's more open than the other, that's an indicator that you need to try and find what on that side is a problem, and in that movement, try to fix up the symmetry. I'm just gonna go ahead and go on to some movements, just because I don't want to make this the longest video in the world. Look up stretches. Great, I already put up a video on 2 great things to do with a pole and lower back. I'm going to show some movements now, but these are stretchy type movements, so dynamic movements that increase range of motion, and it is like a stretch in and of itself. This is a Cossack squat, and this is a great tool. I would say most people who can perform a Cossack squat at a high level probably don't deal with a lot of knee pain. They probably don't deal with a lot of hip pain, calf. I mean, I'm not saying there's no pain, but this is a very versatile movement. If you can perform it at a high level, I'm not going back right here. If the toe's up, I come down to the side, I come back over, wrap this foot forward, my right toe comes up, left knee forces to the outside, I drop my hips down, and if you'll notice, what I like to think is, at the bottom of this position, the half of my body that has the bent leg looks like a squat. I stay squared up forward and I drop down as if I was doing a squat. And you keep a great stretch there on the hamstring, keeping the toe turned up, the calf, the groin area. I went over earlier for a second, reverse lunges. You know, at the end of the day, if you go to the physical therapist and tell them you have knee pain, they're going to do kind of what we just did. They might massage it out. They might warm you up with some electric stimulus. And then they're going to take you on to leg extensions or recumbent bike, things like that. You need to break down the muscles and tissue in that area and repair. It's like with safe movements. So don't go crazy with weight. As a matter of fact, the guy who asked me to make this video told me he was doing bodyweight squats before he did bar squats, and they felt comfortable enough, and he was going to do it until he could make it to 100 straight. That was exactly what I was going to recommend. Bodyweight squats, not just with your workout, not just twice a week. You could do them every single day. You don't need to kill yourself with them, but you need frequency. So the things that help you, try to do 2 or 3 times a day. If you find a few things that help, and that'll really get you rapidly improving. So a good idea for a bodyweight squat, I guess I'll just kind of show it to you from the front, is playing around with angles that don't cause pain. So if depth is an issue, I had somebody who would have knee pain kick in as he was going deep. What did I do? You just put a bench under him and you just have him reach. You try to make it so it's a depth perceptor, so they don't actually sit down. I'm not actually sitting onto it. I just bring my butt back and down. If the stance affects you and causes pain, find a comfortable stance. For me, it was really hard to squat wide because I had hip pain. And while I was improving my hip, not only did I choose a squat stance that was comfortable close, but I had in mind that I was slowly going to widen my stance because I knew I wanted to find out how, if I could somehow deep squat in this position that most people say is stronger. And over time, I have been able to bring my stance out and it feels comfortable and I feel far more mechanical. That's something to toy around with. You know what an ideal bodyweight squat looks like, and you know that maybe you're somebody different than that and you can't quite do that. So you do what you do best, knowing what the ideal goal is, and you find the happy medium. You might never make it here because of your body type. Maybe you figure out the best way to squat for your body type. You know, if you have short femurs, your torso is going to be a little more upright. There are some factors in the squat. So don't overthink it. Just find a range that's comfortable and you feel like your hips, your glutes, your hamstrings are all working and your body is very straight. Look at your toes. You don't want to you can't be squatting with one toe way wider. It's going to really cause a lot of poor positioning. So Cossack squats are a great tool. All single-legged movements, bodyweight squats, all single-legged movements as in you can do a single-legged deadlift. This is actually an amazing one. Starting off, you're going to want to use real light weight with this. I'm not great at this, but if you know what a Warrior 3 is, and again, you can always look up yoga for knee pain. I wouldn't just recommend taking a yoga class. Find specific yoga poses that help knee pain. You have no idea what it is. It could be that your hamstring's too tight. It might be that your hip's off a little bit and one leg is lower than the other. I used to get really bad knee pain because I was open-footed. When I would walk up and down steps, it would kill me. It would destroy my knees to walk up and down steps. If that happens to you, that's actually something I read in a book called Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett. He's kind of a, you know, some people love him, some people hate him, some people, it doesn't matter, but I've learned a lot from him, and a lot of it has seemed to work with both myself, my clients, other trainers that I know, other people that I read. I have a lot of stock in some of the stuff that he says, so I really enjoy that. But yeah, I mean, he's basically said, if you're walking up and down the steps with your toes open, start thinking about stepping with your toes up. Can you do a burpee and bring your feet forward and in front of your hands and keep your toes forward? Or do your toes jack wide? You might find that your hips, usually you have an issue with your hips that causes torque in the leg, that causes pain in the knee. There are a lot of other ways. Fortunately, my problems are the most common ones. You know, slightly tilted pelvis, hip impingement, poor internal rotation, poor ankle range. You want to be able to have good ankle range. There's actually a test. And again, I know I'm big banging around, but honestly, watch the video a few times, take some notes. I'm just freestyling here. You want to be able to have your toes, if this was a wall, 5 inches from a wall, keep your heel down and drive your knee forward. It's a good test. If you can't do that, you have something to work on. You're not going to hurt your knee doing that. It's going to stretch all the way down the back side of that calf area, the Achilles tendon, and where it ties in right in the back behind the knee. Just like you want to do some things that stretch your hamstrings. I mean, just an idea. You can split your stance, you can lean forward. Some people do this. That's a great stretch. I'm just going to show you a couple little things just so you can get an idea of some ways to stretch the backside of that thigh. I showed you a great one for the quad. Again, here's one. You can always pause it, take a look, see if you can figure it out. Boom, boom, it's a yoga pose. These are great things to do. Stretching out my quad, good stretch here, trying to get some internal rotation with the knee, keeping it forward, stretches my glute area pretty good. Abductors, so you really just need to treat it. This area and this area fix up a lot of the problems in that area. Keep that in mind. The single-legged deadlift though. I'm just going to do what I just did with the warrior free pose here. I don't even know if I went all the way in it, but there we go. And it's good. See, I'm having a little bit of trouble here, but you just want to get into a rhythm and improve every second of every minute. I'm not holding position. I'm improving position. I'm doing this on my pad side too, and it's making me work in the areas that I have problems safely. Over time, I'm going to get better there. So, same thing as I just did, except I'm holding kettlebells. One foot comes back. I stand up. As I warm up, I really try and get in better position. I really lift that rear leg. I sit my hips a little bit. I straighten up, lift my chest, stand up. I don't have the best form, but it's better, and I feel better. One last way to think about it, and this might give you an idea of how the bodyweight squat really helps you, even if it doesn't feel like there's anything going on in that knee. You can comfortably do a bodyweight squat. You see, I've heard this was actually on a podcast by Mark Ripito. He was talking about kind of the idea of physical therapy. And he brought up how a dog injures his leg. Actually, he brought up how a dog injures his knee. And when he's running, he just puts a little bit less weight on it. And these compound movements that are mechanical, that you need to do every day. Get up off the toilet, up and down the steps. The dog finds a way over time to work that muscle and that area, the muscles, not the knee muscle, but work the muscles in the area, get some movement in the tendons and ligaments. Again, I don't have the anatomy and everything down like some doctors do, but, or, you know, I don't have a degree in it, but I've helped a lot of people. Anyway, I gotta go, got a client. Take it, use it.